Hi, everybody. We are Cindy Lewis Caballero and Sandy Orlando, your two co-race directors for the Endurance Event Productions race series, which now includes the Georgina Spring Fling, the Kawartha Sun Run Half Marathon, the Georgina Marathon and Half Marathon, and the Nutrients Oakville 21.1 Half Marathon. So we have with us today Dr. Rick Rayman, one of our favorite runners who always tends to come out to Georgina, and we have heard quite a lot of his story as a runner. He's got an amazing story. So we wanted to interview him, put him in front of you guys, and hopefully you guys can catch some inspiration from Dr. Rick here. Dr. Rick, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself as a runner, your running history, what you've done?
For certain, and thank you for having me. And I could go way back, and I will go back only to 1978 when I had run 18 miles once, and I saw there was a marathon in Toronto in August 1978 called the Police Games Marathon. It started at CNE and finished at CNE. I can't remember the course, but I ran that, and not knowing what I was going to be in for, but I did, believe it or not, break 4 hours on that with minimal training. But that sort of got me hooked. And when we got home that day, after I showered and so on, I started looking for my next marathon. And I think that happens to a lot of runners. But right after that, a couple of months later, I ran in Niagara Falls, which they used to call Skylon and Marathon. And it started in Buffalo, ran across the bridge, and finished in Niagara Falls. They changed the name of that, but that was still a wonderful marathon. And I'll never forget the first time I ran that. It was a brutally chilly October, and I drove by myself, stayed over, and when I finished, I saw my wife at the finish line, who took the bus just to see me finish, which isn't so much fun watching me anymore. But I just started running like that, and I used to run around 4 hours, and then all of a sudden I ran one in Toledo, Ohio. It's now called Glass City, and I still do it. I'll come back to that. But all of a sudden I ran a 3:10 marathon without knowing why that happened. And I started running more marathons, training a lot more. And I don't think I ever told you guys this, but for years, with, I guess, negative results, I used to run 90 to 100 miles a week. And when I did cut down to 77, and I'm talking miles, not K, to 70, 75 miles in Ottawa one year, again, not knowing why, I ran a 2:52 marathon. And next one I ran similar, 2:49, 2:50, 2:50. And I would tell people, and we have to be careful what we say. I used to tell, and you guys know the way I look now, I used to tell runners or people who listen to me, I could run a sub 3 hour marathon with my eyes closed. It now takes me that long, as you know, to get to the half. But the more I ran, and the more I loved it. And not just the run, it's still to this day, after 408 marathons, it's still, and the word rush is used a lot, it's still a rush, it's still a thrill when I finish a marathon. I love being with runners, and the whole feeling, I mean, I still like going to, and they're getting a little smaller now, expos prior to the, a marathon and so on. And I still haven't lost my desire to run, knowing now I'm twice as slow as I ever was.
So you mentioned in there, we can't just let that pass by, that you've run 408 marathons. Mm-hmm. And that's right. 408, you didn't slip in an extra zero.
No, but I'll
Zero.
tell you something very funny, and I can't correct this. Somebody reaches out to us in December. I can't think of her, Diane Bolton, and she gets the list of all the runners in North America who have done over 300 marathons. And instead of telling her 408, I wasn't drinking. For some reason, I told her 308. So
Yeah. Well,
all
I mean,
people
lose
on the
track
list,
eventually, right?
yeah. Well, they said, Rick, how come you went back 100 marathons? So, but
Well,
yeah, I've
300
done
is still a
408.
huge number. So, how many years, like over how many years have you run that? So, you said your first one was in 78. So, that's going to take a
That's
little bit.
so
7,
37
47,
years,
47, 47.
47 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, it's lucky I'm a dentist. I haven't got good math. But on top of that, I'm a streak runner. And
Next question.
there are, believe it or not, there are almost 5,000 people on the list. And my streak is 46 years. What day is today? Almost 46 years, almost 2 months. I'm 17th in the world. Believe it or not, the guy who was number one just stopped his December 31st, 2024. And he did it on his own volition, and that's the way to do it. It wasn't sickness, illness, whatever.
So,
And
how far do you have to run? Sorry to interrupt. How far do you have
no,
to run
that's,
to be a
please,
runner?
their rules are 1 mile.
Okay.
Okay.
So even days like you must have had the flu, once in the past 47 years. No matter what was going on with you, you got up and you got that done. That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't even think about it. And
Yeah.
even when I had COVID in 2021, I had a mild case, but I still ran. And look, even injuries. I mean, I just got over one, hopefully. Even when I had a torn medial meniscus, I still ran. It's not right to tell somebody as a healthcare provider, but I still did it.
You've done 408 marathons and you're how old are you now?
78.
And you're still doing, a marathon every weekend or two. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you shouldn't have ran that day.
Exactly. But I'm cutting down this year. And I don't know if I should say this, but with what's going on, I'm going to run a lot less in the United States.
Yeah.
So, but that's why the more we have around here, the better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, that's for you guys to set up more. So.
Can I throw a few questions in there? Just what was your personal best in your marathon time?
For 2 hours, 47 minutes, 43 seconds. And it was in Greece, New York. I still don't know where that is. It's just outside Rochester. And I still can't believe it. That's under 6.5 minutes a mile.
That's awesome. And my other question is, I know that your wife comes out and I've seen her waiting for you at these races. Has she always she got the same streak as you with 408 marathons?
Almost. We tried to figure out when I first started, the first marathon, well, I told you that when it was in Toronto, Niagara Falls, she came to meet me. She took the bus. And for a number of years, she didn't. But I would bet she's at 350 or more marathon finish lines.
That's quite a
which is quite amazing.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
And and my kids are very supportive. And they were at my 300th marathon, my 400th marathon. So my family and that's what we need. They're, very supportive.
Did they run as well?
One of my grandsons, he's a phenomenal runner. I'll tell you in a minute, but goes on, but he runs, I think he's done a 5K, but mainly, short distances. But my son-in-law got hired a track coach for him. And he trains with this track coach every Saturday morning. So nobody ever got me a track coach. So,
You
but
didn't need to, sounds like.
You didn't need one. Yeah. You did it yourself.
but he's the only one, and he's a real good runner.
Awesome. I'll have to bring him out.
So
Well,
Do
he
you, do you run short distances as well, or only marathon distance?
I haven't run anything shorter than a marathon probably in 30 years. I ran the odd 10K, and I still can't believe my best 10K time, which was a second under 36 minutes.
Nice.
But, it happens to everybody, and there's nothing one can do about it once you start to slow down. It's age, injury. And somebody told me once that it's not the number of marathons you've run, it's the number of fast marathons.
Hmm.
So
Do you
I've
believe
run,
that?
pardon me?
Do you believe
No,
that?
not at all. Not at all.
It's more
It's
about the
just,
experience, right?
it's just, I still think I'm 35 years old, but, my body knows it's not.
the most important thing is to realize that that happens to everyone and adapt what you're doing, right? And be okay with, eventually not getting faster, but continuing to go so your body stays healthy, right? So
I could have given up years ago,
yeah.
and I accepted it, and I don't really care what my finish time is. It's nice to meet people, talk to people. I truly look forward to finishing with you guys in May, which didn't happen last year for some reason. Remember, I didn't wait for a year or something? I don't know how that happened, but
Well,
I blocked it out.
What happened last year is you were too fast.
Oh,
Katrina and I went out, and I forget what we needed to find someone on the course, and you went by towards the finish, and we were
that's
trying
right,
to
yeah.
catch you before you finished.
I
And
think
we didn't
I did that on purpose, really working hard for about a half a kilometer. So, but
Yeah,
that's fun.
but we were at aid
And
station 1, and you went past, and we're like, oh, we'll hurry up and catch him. But we had to say something to maybe the guys working out there. We turned around, we started hauling towards you, and we couldn't catch you.
but I really tried hard to do that, to tell you the truth. But
So
again,
before we
go ahead.
before we got on, you were telling me about a couple of really interesting marathon experiences, or maybe the least interesting marathon experiences. Talk a little bit about some of the races that you've done and what they've been like.
Well, I've run 10 indoor marathons. I did 3. If anybody went to University of Toronto at Hardhouse Track, they have a bigger athletic complex now. But that marathon was 301.5 times around the track. It was 11.5 times for a mile. And obviously, the least interesting, the most boring, nobody out there. You had to bring somebody who they gave you a clicker, and each time you passed the starting line, you had to click, and you had to bring a counter person to check off how many times you've gone around the track. And I remember back then, I brought my father-in-law, and I'll tell you about that in a second, and my son. I think my son was around 7. My father-in-law, may he rest in peace, was an avid smoker, and around 21 miles, I only had about 4 or 5 miles to go. He had to go outside of Hardhouse to smoke a cigarette, and my son took over counting the laps, and everybody thought my son cheated for me, and I shouldn't have had a 2:49 marathon. But my son's a bright, well,
Oh, that
was a
was your
bright kid.
around a track. Wow.
Yeah,
I guess you
that
just
was
shut your brain off and
yeah.
go, and you don't have to count. You've got the people counting for you.
exactly. So obviously the most boring. Um, I did one marathon that I didn't tell you about. I've run 6 indoor marathons at York University, but in 1990, I still have the T-shirt. I'd never worn it. They did a marathon when they called Rogers Center Sky Dome, and it was
Okay.
76 times around the first concourse level, and
That'd be cool
it
though.
was fun. But I ran it in Nike racing flats. And for about 2 months after, my Achilles tendons, both feet
Yeah.
were hurting. So,
What a neat
but
experience though that would be.
as far as boring, I don't think indoor marathons are boring. They're fun, but boring. I'm trying to think any marathon. It sounds corny, but I love every one that I do. There's
Mhm.
Well, I mean,
always,
obviously obviously Georgina is the most beautiful place you've ever run, right?
um, I
We
wasn't going to say this, but this is because I don't want anybody out there when I start. You let me start early
yeah.
and the sun hasn't come out yet, and you look at the lake to your right because I don't know what direction I'm going, but the lake's to your right.
Uh-huh.
Uh, there's absolutely nothing more beautiful. There's nobody on the road. The lake's gorgeous and calm, and the moon's still. I mean, it's beautiful. And the whole course, I don't know if people are runners are into this, but it's impossible not to look at some of the beautiful homes.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever told you this, but every year when I'm running, whether in May or September, I've run into previous patients of mine
Oh,
who
really?
who have homes there, and they all say the same thing, and it bothers me. Can't believe you're still running, Dr. Rayman. So, but I talked to them a bit.
But you know
So
why? That's they probably don't run, right? It's the
of
people
course,
that don't run that wonder why we do it, and certainly why you do it 408 marathons later. But they're
and
missing out on something great in life, right? We know that.
for sure. But your course is beautiful, and the finish is amazing. It really, I mean, I find it, and obviously I've run a lot. Some finish lines are great. Believe it or not, one in Toronto I like, but um, it doesn't have the lake, and it doesn't have what you guys have. You don't need to worry about traffic. Well, sometimes, um, but there's like I said, I can't wait. I have a marathon a week this Sunday, but I can't wait for you guys in May. So, got to think about this one. So, but it's compliment to you guys. It's really well organized, including the check-in, including obviously, and totally off topic. Of all the marathons I've run, and I love buying apparel. One year you had that orange and blue. I don't know who designed it. Of all the marathons I ever run and jackets I bought, that's the nicest. I don't know who just remember one year you had it.
That
Yeah.
was
It was-
Surge Activewear, and unfortunately, after that year, they weren't able to do that anymore. But they
Well,
were
it's
agreed. They were super nice. We need to find somebody else who can do that.
Mhm.
it's so nice. I don't even wear it. I don't want to ruin it. So,
So,
but
question for you. 408 marathons later, do you get medals and T-shirts for all of them?
yes,
You still like that?
and
Yeah.
I love it. And I wish I could take pictures one day. I still save all my bibs and put them up in a room. I'm running a room,
Mhm.
and I'm running out of space. And I keep all our medals too. I could show you a picture, but we keep them. And Marcia gets angry at me in one of our bureaus in our bedroom. So she doesn't like when I show people our bedroom. So, but it's been on CBC. So, but and I still love getting T-shirts.
Mhm.
I really do. You'd think I'd be tired of that, but that's part of running races.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So,
Well, one of the best things is having you at the event. Honestly, you have such a good personality. You can tell that you just love running and you love being there. And it doesn't matter how many times you've been to a race, like you say, you can tell that the love of running is like all around you, and you just want to be part of it as much as you can. And it's one of my favorite things is making sure we find you at the end of your
well,
race, going in that last few hundred meters or more, right? I think you've always had
and
company except that one event.
well, I look forward to that. And some advice, I guess. Runners have to train and so on, but it's all about having fun and putting your right foot in front of your left and repeating. And I think it's done so much for my life, my family, and everything else. I'll try to keep on doing it till I just can't. So,
Yeah. Well,
but
anyone out there that is listening, hopefully you got a little bit of motivation from Dr. Rick. And, one of the things that I see as a coach, Sandy and I coach people as well, is you get people that have on their bucket list to do a marathon or to do an Ironman or whatever, some long distance event. And, they put everything in it for a few months and then they just stop and move on to the next thing. And then you find people like Rick and many of the people we have out at our races who just love the sport and they're lifers. And those are the people that, really get the most benefit from running, because it's not just about racing. It's about getting out your door every day and clearing your head and doing a little meditation while you're out there on the road. And anyone who is a runner and a runner for life will understand that. So it's always great and refreshing to talk to somebody who just, embodies that in their whole person. So hopefully you all took something away from that and got a little inspiration. And any of you that are coming out to the Spring Fling or hopefully the Fall Georgina Marathon, you'll see Dr. Rick there. Say hello, have a chat with him. He always seems very open and happy to talk to anyone about his experiences or yours. Is there anything else you wanted to say, Rick, before we sign off?
well, I just think what you guys have done for road racing in this area is just amazing. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I'll leave you with this, I guess. When I do Glass City in Toledo every year, they give me, and I thought it was an honor, but the more I think about it, I'm now the sweeper. I'm the last place finisher. If you finish behind me, you don't get a time. So what I do now, if there's anybody behind me, I just stop and let them pass me. So, but you guys don't do that, because I might end up being the sweeper, but it's fun. But again, it's part of it, and I just love being out there.
Amazing. Sorry, Sandy, what was it?
I said we
Pardon
love
me?
having you there. It's you're inspiring for an awful lot of people. I hope you know that.
Well, I don't think about it, but I think it's, again, corny. It's you guys who let us get inspired. So I thank you for having these races. And I wish I could buy another jacket like that orange and blue one.
We're going to put that on our list to find another supplier that can do that for us for next year. For this
Yeah.
year, we've just got our hoodies and our shirts.
I'll buy them. So,
I always want to give you it. I always want to give it to you, but you won't accept it.
I thank you for having me. That was fun.
So anyone who is racing with us in Georgina on May 4th, we look forward to seeing you. Anyone who hasn't yet signed up, get yourself signed up, because we're going to sell out, and we're going to sell out earlier this year. Registrations are up. And, go to enduranceeventproductions.com if you want to learn about the Georgina Spring Fling or any of the other 3 events that we have going on this year. Thanks for watching, and we will see you again soon.